In the 3 weeks leading up to Tisha B'Av, when we commemorate the destruction of the temples in Jerusalem, we make a change in our Saturday morning services, and that's in the Haftorah. Instead of reading the Haftorah that would connect thematically to what we read in the Torah that day, we read these 3 Haftarot of admonition. These 3 Haftorahs in which God rebukes us for turning away, for being disloyal, and urges us to turn back to God. This week's Haftarah, which is the second of those Haftarot, comes from the prophet Jeremiah, and one line in particular caught my attention. In it, God says, "You have done 2 things to wrong me. You have turned away from me, you have abandoned Makor Mayim Chayim, the source of living water, and instead you have built cisterns, broken cisterns, which cannot hold water at all." Now, in its original context, God is saying, you have turned to these idols, which Jeremiah calls non-gods. You have turned to these non-gods instead of me. I am the source of life, water, which is sustaining, which is nourishing, which is necessary, and instead ended up with these idols, which are cisterns, which are broken. Not only can they not hold water, but the more devotion, the more water that you pour into them, the more that the walls will turn back into mud and they'll crumble and be no good to anyone. Well, Rabbi Nachman in the Midrash asks a question. 2? Just 2? There are 24 things just in this chapter that God says that we did wrong. So why does God say you did 2 things to wrong me? Rather, we should understand it as there are 2 things that happened with one action. And that action is the devotion to the idols. It is the giving of all of that attention to the wrong place, to the wrong source. In our own relationships, whether it be with another person, whether it be with God, whether it be within ourselves, we can also fall prey to that same problem of giving all of our attention to something that is not the thing that really needs our attention. Whether it be the way that we strike a work-life balance, or the people who we are giving our time to who are not nourishing us and who are drawing away from the healthy relationships that we should be in. Whether it be the places that we are giving our attention to physical needs that are not just what we need, but all of our focus to money and wealth and prestige, and that can draw us away from ourselves, our true selves, and draw us away from God. So as we get closer to Tisha B'Av, and as we remember the destruction that can happen by putting all of our focus on the wrong things, think about what are the things that are important, that are maybe not getting enough attention in my life. How can I avoid that destruction and instead give my love and attention to those important relationships? It might even be the relationship that I hold with myself. And instead of destruction, may we all see rebuilding and renewal. Shabbat Shalom.